We're uncovering new details tonight on a decision entitling the suspect in a decades-old murder case to a new trial.
We've been tracking Raymond Beaver Tempest's appeals for years, and as we reported as breaking news at noontime today, Rhode Island's highest court sided with him. Eyewitness News reporter Jared Pliner has been going through the Supreme Court's ruling. He joins us live from the Providence Mobile Newsroom with what he's learned.
Shannon, good evening. 34 years after this Woonsocket murder and 24 years after the trial, Raymond Beaver Tempest no longer has a murder conviction tonight. In a 4-1 decision, the Rhode Island Supreme Court said today it agrees with the lower court's decision to throw out the conviction of Raymond Beaver Tempest in the 1982 bludgeoning murder of Doreen Picard. Tempest is now entitled to a new trial. The justices focused on witness Donna Carrier, who at some point lived in the same apartment complex as Tempest. Days before trial, Carrier made new, differing statements that Tempest's brother Gordon, a Woonsocket detective, hid the murder weapon. She also made comments about Tempest's children, even though the Tempest family didn't live near Carrier until 1983. The prosecutor never disclosed these late statements to the defense. The court writes, if a prosecutor has suppressed evidence that would be favorable to the accused and the evidence is material to guilt or punishment, the defendant's due process rights have been violated and a new trial must be granted. The opinion continues. Carrier was one of 4 less than stellar witnesses and arguably the most credible of the 4 who testified that Tempest confessed to the murder. Had her testimony been further undermined, there is at the very least a reasonable probability that the verdict against Tempest would have been different. The justices wrote they are mindful of the impact of their decision on the victims' families, but our justice system requires that the state bear the burden of proving every element of a crime beyond a reasonable doubt, and it must do so within the confines of the law. When the state exceeds those confines, it must suffer the consequences. And Donna Carrier, as well as her boyfriend, also a witness, have since died. Now, the Attorney General's office says it has not yet made a decision on whether to retry Tempest. It says it is far too early for that kind of a determination. New at 6 o'clock, what the single dissenting justice had to say. She authored a very long opinion, as well as what differing sides had to say in reaction to this decision. For now, live outside the Rhode Island Supreme Court with the Providence Mobile Newsroom, I'm Jared Pliner, Eyewitness News.
After spending 23 years in prison for a crime he says he didn't commit, Raymond Beaver Tempest is now eligible for a new trial thanks to the state's highest court. New at 6, more details on what was said about the case in court. Eyewitness News reporter Jared Pliner has the details live from the Providence Mobile Newsroom.
Shannon, good evening. Well, this is the majority opinion. It is 15 pages, pretty manageable. And this is the dissent. It is 75 pages. And the author of this dissent called today's decision, quote, a manifest injustice. By a 4-1 vote, the Rhode Island Supreme Court affirmed an earlier ruling that Raymond Beaver Tempest is entitled to a new trial for the 1982 Woonsocket murder of Doreen Picard. The court said the prosecutor deliberately never told Tempest's defense about statements days before trial from key witness Donna Carrier that went to her credibility. One dealt with the fact that Carrier wasn't a neighbor of Tempest at the time of the murder. Dissenting, Justice Maureen McKenna Goldberg wrote the prosecutor's withholding wasn't deliberate, and it cannot be denied that defense counsel was aware of Carrier's mistake before trial and that the former prosecutor nonetheless called her as a witness, knowing full well that she would be severely impeached. Tempest received a fair trial, continued Goldberg. His conviction should not be disturbed. The Picard family has been deprived of what little justice they received in 1992, 10 years after they buried their young, innocent daughter. And in a statement we received, Tempest's attorney said Tempest was only convicted back in 1992 because of prosecutorial and police misconduct. The Attorney General said, meanwhile, the state is disappointed with this decision. He has not yet made a decision onto whether to retry Tempest. His office says that determination is far too premature at this point, would be. For now, live outside the Rhode Island Supreme Court with the Providence Mobile Newsroom, I'm Jared Pliner, Eyewitness News.